Hello, everybody. This is Trevor Truck, ASMR. I was just paying attention to the sound of the droid walking on this steel grate. Just kind of reminds me of a crab. But what would a crab be doing on a metal floor? I don't know. These are just the random sleepy thoughts that invade my head sometimes. So yes, this is Star Wars Battlefront 2. We are back with another map exploration. There are no battles going on. There's no violence. We're not all about that violence. We're all about the exploration. And these are liminal spaces. And we're gonna prove it right here, right now. First and foremost, because there's no one else. It's just us. That's it. This is the Death Star, which, oh my gosh, you better believe when I was a child, in the year 2005, and I knew that this was gonna be a map in the game. Oh my gosh. If only you had known the excitement. For me, this was the peak of Star Wars coolness. And look, it might be kind of controversial to say, Star Wars has never been the same. I think after episode 3, I think there was a little bit of a fall off, and, Disney took it over, and I think, I'm not saying that Disney made all the wrong moves, but it's not the same, man. I miss the Star Wars of the early 2000s. I really, sincerely do. Because this was the coolest shit ever. Me and my brother would play this game all the time. We would play online. It was fun. Anyway, let's take a look at the map. So this is your standard run-of-the-mill hangar bay, except you'll notice that the floor is very clean, very polished. I think they used like spray 9 or something on this floor. I mean, it is smooth. We got our little landing lights over here just to give it some character. There's also some type of, it looks to be like an overheated projector. And of course, that's what it's all about. You got these tiny little details here, like this machine. And that looks really cool. It honestly does. Then you can walk up this way and get a much better view of the area. This is one of our command posts. And of course you get a nice viewpoint of the space beyond. Now that's a weird noise. I don't know what that was. But you'll find there's a lot of sort of this like pneumatic, like pressurized type of noise. Like just then. The Death Star is kind of like a living organism, and the way that this level is designed, it kind of gives off that impression. Not to mention the fact, let's just be clear, this is a huge map. That's why it was always so good. This is why we pay the big bucks to play games like these. This is the enemy command post, except you'll see that they actually have TIE fighters at the top of the ceiling. These look like huge claws, like in those claw machine games. And I think one thing I love is the character that they give to the way that space looks in this game. You get a little bit of a cluster there, right? A little bit of coloration. And there's a little bit of a contrast. You got reds and blues. By the way, I just want to say I'm really tired. I had lunch a couple of hours ago, and then after lunch, after I cleaned up, I sat on the couch, and it's one of those things where it feels like the couch just swallows you, and you're stuck there. And I put the blanket over me, and I was watching YouTube, and then I started nap jerking, and it's like, well, there goes the afternoon. Oh my gosh, I got so lazy. I didn't even feel like doing anything. Let me wake myself up real quick. Okay, there we go. I shocked myself awake. I'm still a little bit sleepy. Anyway, hallways. Very dark, very bleak. It's exactly what you would expect of the Death Star. And then this right here. I'm just gonna call it the Darth Vader meeting room, where the Imperial generals would have their talks, flanked by those red crimson guards that would always protect the Emperor. What a place, right? I don't know what this is. It looks like a fortune teller's crystal ball. So maybe they were into a little bit of superstition, you know. I mean, I could kind of peg Darth Vader as a superstitious guy. He's probably reading those tarot cards. Alright, I damaged myself a little bit. This here is a very tall ceiling. In fact, there is no ceiling. It's just a dark maw, a dark void of despair up above us. In general, during the battles, you would stay away from that. And then, yeah, below us, it's the same thing. Again, you gotta remember, this is the Death Star. And, it's unforgiven. Nonetheless, I don't understand. If you have a place like this, why not implement a rail system? How come there are no rails to protect you from falling off? Seems a little dangerous if you ask me, but... Anyway, oh, thank you for giving me some ammo. Thank you so much. Anyway, you got this bridge here. This bridge kind of gives the impression that it's retractable, and it probably is, but I don't know if there's a button you can press to make it go up or down. It's interesting. I never thought of that before, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can. What's that noise? I hear it. I don't know what you call this. I guess you can call this... You know how there's a thing called cottagecore? This is kind of like mid-2000s Star Wars core. There's another game that I really love, and it was on the channel for a bit, very early in the channel's history. Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast 2. One of my favorite games of all times, even though it frustrates me. And it has the same exact vibe as this place. Again, and I will say it with all my heart, mid-2000s Star Wars was the best vibes. Absolutely. They mastered it so well. Okay. Let me just make sure we're not going in circles here. So this was the room that we started out in. Now this is a very interesting spot. I'm not entirely sure what the red underneath the floor stands for. It could be lava. Perhaps there's some type of thermodynamic situation going on where, yeah, the Death Star is fueled by magma. That's wild to think about. We got some droids. But honestly, I like these walkways. Basically, this kind of gives you the impression of a jail cell, the kind of place where Princess Leia was trapped while she was being held prisoner. And as you can see, there's a little bit of an area here. It's not very comfortable. Not very comfortable. It's actually very tiny and claustrophobic. I would hate to be a prisoner at a place like this. Now this, again, this is why we pay the big bucks for these games. This is amazing right here. I just want to point out, the color that stands out to me is the Matrix lime green that you see on the walls. It's really cool. Even this visual right here is really cool. As you can see, we got some steam coming out of here, but that's a digression. I remember back in the day when we used to have battles in this particular room, you would always use the shortcuts, right? Instead of just walking like a normal person around, a lot of times what you would do is you would just jump to this little place here, and then you would jump back just like that. You know, it was cool because it kind of made you feel like Batman. But anyway, again, the Death Star definitely would not pass safety certifications in the planet Earth, because at this height, falling into the deep pit of space, I mean, yeah, kind of scary to think about, right? There's no rails to protect anyone. It's weird how they built it that way. A lot of people in the heat of battle, if they were a little bit clumsy, they would fall. Oop, I just heard the laser go. That's another planet destroyed. Now you'll see some reused assets from other levels, like these barrels and these boxes. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you gotta preserve memory, right? So you don't want to overdo it. Anyway, this was definitely a great place to have battles, probably one of the best places in all of the Death Star to have a battle. Now you see, I don't know what these things are. They look like turbines, they look like some type of power source, but it's really interesting to see them in the level and to have that green background. There's a lot more contrast in this room, but the floors remain gray. Now this is a secret entrance to another of the hangar bays, I think, but before we go there, I do want to check something out real quick, because this room is where the magic is made. My assumption is that this is the room where the laser is employed to destroy planets. Now, here's a little something. So, I think you have to be careful here, because you do not want to step in the middle of it. And if the laser is being deployed, I don't think you want to be down here, because if you are, I think you die. Let's wait. Let's give it a second. I want to see the laser go, because this is really cool. Any minute now. Oh, yep, there it is. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, this is unsafe. This is unsafe. Oh, okay, I was wrong. You don't die. I thought... Whoa. I thought the radiation from the laser knocked out the character, but apparently not. Okay. Still, I think it's a very cool mechanism. It gives you kind of a glimpse into how the Death Star laser works. But you don't want to step on any of this. You will be destroyed. And basically, this is just a little shortcut. It actually doesn't lead to the hangar, but it is a little shortcut, which is kind of cool. And interestingly enough, there's another shortcut on this other side here that is worth mentioning, and I actually kind of forgot about this part of it. And where does this go? Oh, okay, this is just a dead end. But down here, we have something that's famous. It's the trash compactor, just like from the movie. Now, yes, if you're in here and you get squished, it's not going to be good news. So you just, there's some things you don't want to do. There's some things you don't want to do, because it's not going to be pretty in the end. So, make sure you avoid stuff like that. And looks like we have some computers. Looks like camouflage. Got some things lighting up. You can hear those computer sounds. It's perfect for a game like this. And there is the Death Star laser in all its glory. It's about to fire right now. It's funny how it seems like the sound doesn't completely match up to it. But there it goes. Looks like a planet. Nice computer systems. So yeah, it's a very interesting map, and definitely one of my favorite maps of all time, for sure, without a doubt. So, I think we're gonna stop it here, but again, the Death Star is a wonderful, wonderful map, and it's very liminal when there's no battles going on. The next map we're taking a look at is Kamino. And as you can see, this is a map that has a weather system in it. You can see the rain and the puddles. It gives that appearance that the surface is very slick. And also, there's lightning and thunder. The thunder sound effect is really good. There's also a very heavy wind going on right now. You can see that there are lights all over the rail system, and I really love the pillars that are around here. They look kind of like radio towers or something of the sort. Gives it a really sort of cool appearance. The skybox is just, yeah, pretty amazing. Then we have the water too. Now, basically the water texture, it kind of gives the impression that it's more like a blanket that just is, you know, it's just kind of like being bent and reshaped constantly. And then out further in the skybox, you can see more of the planet. This is a very interesting place. I think in Star Wars Episode 2, it looks even better. But this is a rainy, stormy, very gloomy, doomy type of planet. And these platforms here are basically what make up the extent of the battle. And it's fun to just walk around and explore. And it seems to me like for this particular map, there's something different about the overall feel. Even the assets, like these boxes here, I don't know if you find them on any of the other maps. Maybe you do, but we certainly didn't see these on the Death Star, so something to keep in mind. Now, there's one place I wanted to go, since I see it. I remember the battles on this planet. Very tough battles. Sometimes you had the high ground, sometimes you didn't, but some of your most intense Battlefront 2 battles would take place here. Now we got these little watchtowers, right? And I think they're kind of cool. It's like a very, like, if it wasn't for the fact that war was going on around us, it would be really relaxing to just stand here and look out at the ocean, take a few snapshots, you know? It's a beautiful day. I like the rain, you know? I like to see it, I like to hear it. It relaxes me, puts me in a place of peace. This place is no different. You know, we're not talking about cheesy rain effects or anything like that. I mean, the sound is great. And I don't know if you notice it, but the sound is also different, right? When you're under a roof. It changes very slightly. Boy, what a soundscape. You know, honestly, you could probably loop this. You could probably loop this and replay it when you're trying to go to sleep at night. It's very interesting. But what I would like to show you now is the main base for one of the factions. Basically on this map, the two factions who are battling it out, they will have what I would consider the main bases. And as you can see, look at how polished, how clean, how neat, how much like a hospital this place is. And there's a lot of empty space here. Like, there's no pictures on the walls, the doors won't open, there's no plants. Where's the plants? Where's the shrubbery? I don't know. I don't know why I wanted to do that, but I wanted to do that. So, ooh. I hear some sounds that I've heard from other maps, but basically the lore behind Kamino is that it is a cloning planet. So it's where, it's where Jango Fett was cloned. And thus the Republic's troopers, clone troopers, were created. And as you can see, these look more like computers that you would see in an office. Another reminder of liminal spaces, honestly. It looks really cool. It's a nice touch. And over here, we can only assume this is where the clones are being created. Perhaps. And who knows what this central device is, but they put the command post on it strategically. So there is a lot going on here. And I just love the overall geometry of the place. We got these nice subway tiles, but then there's a lot of round patterns here as well. And that's kind of the theme, because you'll notice, of course, that the platforms outside are very rounded too. So not a lot of sharp edges, a lot of roundness, a lot of curvature in a place like this. So it's interesting to see all that. But anyway, that's like the main cloning facility. There's one more thing that I would like to show about this level. And I want to get to the center of the map, because this is where some of the best battles are actually taking place. It's not quite over here. Hold on, I'll get there soon enough. Anyway, that big building out there in the distance, that's where the enemies would spawn. That would be their main base. And of course, if you were playing as a sniper, or if you decided to get into one of these guys here, the map was perfect for long-range characters, because there's not a lot of cover, to be honest. I mean, you can hide behind the boxes, but if you wanted to make a move to another location, oftentimes it was risky. You would leave yourself really, really open. So, this is the last thing I want to show off for this level. This is the central place where a lot of battles took place. Right here, to me, this feels like a stage. It's like King of the Hill. If you can last in the center here without dying, you were doing something right. But the thing to pay attention to is that over here, there's at least like 3 different ways, maybe 4 different ways. Actually, wait, 1, 2. Okay, this doesn't count because this is a dead end, but at least 3 or 4 ways that enemies could get to you. Crazy. A lot of times the odds would definitely be against you in a situation like that. And then down here, of course, would be the enemy base. And quite frankly, if you could capture this one, then you could easily make your way to the enemy's main base. And the enemy's main base is pretty much the same as the other one. Although I will say it is nice to see a little bit more of a decorative idea going on here. Like, I don't know like, these look like dippers. Like, this is a big dipper. Big dippers, yeah. It's like a spoon that's bent a little bit, and it has some yogurt in the center. I'm assuming these are seats that people can sit in, but it would be really hard to have a heart-to-heart conversation because there's a big pillar right in the middle. But otherwise, I think we about covered most of what we needed to cover in this map. Ooh, wait a minute. No. One more thing. Look at this. These are clones. DNA spirals of the clones. There's actually a few missing. Very bright computers. This place just reeks of science fiction. Okay? Look at this computer terminal there. That's cool. I forgot about this. See, it's been so long since I've played and paid attention to all of this, but interestingly enough, the most that we see is the DNA of the clones, but we don't see anything else. We don't see any actual bodies of clones being created, but that would have been an interesting touch to the map for sure. But this room is actually darker than most of the other building, and I guess maybe that is to emphasize all the lights and all the sounds and everything going on here. But again, just really cool. Really, really cool place. If we were to have a Star Wars battle, this would be an amazing place to have it. This door doesn't open though. They locked this one up. Alright, so that is Kamino. Welcome everyone. This is the third and final map of this series. We are in the planet Hoth. I love the sound of the lasers and those things. It's really nice. Now, this place just gives you the impression of being cold and windy. You can hear the wind really easily. Got the sun out. Looks like a beautiful day, but it definitely looks like a cold day for sure. Now, the thing about this map is extremely liminal because there's nothing. It's a very bleak landscape of snow. Now, in the background, you'll see the walkers in the distance. We've got plenty of cannons just in case we need to, use them. Boy, that one's powerful. But this is a very impromptu battlefield, as it was in the movie. You have to remember the rebels. The rebels had to come to this planet and hide, The rebellion was kind of at a disadvantage. They didn't quite have the machinery that the Imperials had. But nonetheless, it's a very satisfying map to fight in. And as for cover, the only cover you have are these trenches. And of course, being that this place is mostly snow, the trenches probably weren't too hard to dig out. But you notice they put like these steel grates on the bottom just for traction, because you can imagine it's probably really slippery here. And there are connections as well. So we're gonna explore the interior tunnels of the Hoth map. Now, being that I've started from the Imperials side, we're gonna go inside this building here, where it's a little bit warmer. And you'll notice that we are caved in. You can't go anywhere. But this is not the case for the other building that's over on this side, okay? So, we're gonna go over that way, and we're gonna check that out. Now, another important feature of this map is that you could ride on the tauntauns, which are basically like, animals that are built to handle weather like this. I thought I saw one earlier, but maybe it despawned for some reason. Anyway, this map, when you first play it, it'll give you the impression that it's really big. It's actually not that big of a map, though, when you break it down. Anyway, we got more of the trench systems, we got more of the turrets strategically placed. And then this here is where the rebellion would spawn. And I don't know, I think that there is like a shield generator or something. Computers. This right here is what I'm talking about. These are the cave systems that will eventually lead to the Echo Base. Or I guess technically this is part of Echo Base. But you'll notice this is a common theme in this game. There's a lot of pipes that are, you know, kind of ripped open, and smoke and steam exit through the tears. So you walk along this path in this cold, lonely cave. It's kind of scary. It almost feels like something is watching you. Then, of course, you know, you get these computers, and it just looks kind of messy. Looks kind of like everything has been clumsily placed. But it is cool to see all these devices, these large computer screens, got droids. It's like a big server farm. And just a lot of cool space effects, science fiction effects, really. You got these special boxes here that I think only show up on Hoth, if I'm correct. I don't remember them on other maps. Then you got these lights to help keep things a little bit illuminated, because I imagine it would be pretty dark otherwise. Anyway, here's the thing about the cave system. If you were to have a battle in here, it would be deadly, because if you threw a grenade, it would be hard to escape it. It'd be much harder. But this is what I was really looking for. This is the Echo Base proper. It's a huge, kind of like a hangar bay. And interestingly enough, it looks like there's icicles on the top here. And I never really noticed that before, but that kind of caught my attention. And it looks to me that this is a place where they repair damaged vehicles, damaged ships. This leads down to an abyss. Well, actually, there is a bottom to it, but again, very steamy. Actually, I hear something. If you pay attention, and I know it might be hard to hear, you can actually hear voices. I hear the clanking of metal, and I hear voices as if they were over some sort of intercom. Oh, that's cool. That's so cool. And I hear metal being scraped across the floor. I hear things being repaired. It's actually kind of unsettling. Yeah, it's kind of spooky in a certain sense. Like, if you just separated out this ambient sound by itself, it could make for a good, scary movie soundtrack. Anyway, the Hoth base would not be complete without the inclusion of Han Solo's flagship ship, the Millennium Falcon. It's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. I think they did it justice, you know. They did as well as they could with 2005 graphics, you know. And then of course you have the ships. Now, here's what's interesting. I don't know how the snowspeeder got damaged. And as you've just seen, one of the snowspeeders blew up.
A command post is under Imperial control. Hostile reinforcement count is diminishing.
I think the reason it blew up is because I captured the command post. It's interesting that the game actually does that. Whoops. That's kind of awkward. Han Solo is not going to be happy about that. But I love the sounds. I love the continuous steam. And this just feels right, you know? It definitely feels like an impromptu base for a group of people who are fighting against a much stronger force. Now, when you exit that, you have a great view of the entirety of the battle scene. You're back to the wind and the snow and the cold. And it's all just, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I love it here. It's not my favorite map to do battle on, I'll be honest about that, but nonetheless, it's amazing how they built the base into the snowbank. We'll walk around for just a little bit more. There is one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to take a look at the shield generator. I'm assuming that's a shield generator, like a planetary shield generator. If I remember my Star Wars lore correctly. You know, my brother has an encyclopedia, a Star Wars encyclopedia book. I need to check that out sometime. There's some really wild lore. This is a tauntaun. These are the creatures that you see in the movie, and of course you're seeing now in the game. You can get on one of these things and you can ride them, and it's definitely a great way to get around. They do not jump, but you can cover quite a bit of ground with these guys. Then of course you have walkers. This is your AT-ST, I think. Got a laser system. It has pretty good mobility. But here's the thing. Everybody knows, I mean, it's not a secret. If you play as the Empire, you do kind of have an advantage on the battlefield, okay? Because you have all this huge machinery. Then you have these giants here. The AT-ATs. The AT-ATs. These things are not as fun to pilot, though. Look how slow it's going. The lasers are effective, though. Oops, sorry about that. Wow, that looks like me after drinking too much. Okay, well everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I promised I was going to deliver another one, and I also might do another episode of this with 3 more maps, because yes, there are more maps. So it would be interesting to do this again and examine these other maps, but gosh, I would have to say that out of all the maps I've done, I think Hoth is for sure the most liminal out of all of them. It's just a desolate, snowy hell. But it's also kind of beautiful too. I mean, look at that view. That's amazing. Anyway, I hope you all had a good time. I hope you all were able to relax. And I will see you in another video. Goodbye for now.